Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another tips and tricks tutorial video brought to you by Freelancer School. My name is Taylor Keene. Today we're going over Nvidia ChatRTX, how it can be your personalized AI chatbot. If you don't know a lot about Nvidia, I would get to know a lot about Nvidia and why you'd want to have a local configuration on your machine instead of just giving your data to train all these models, or even if you don't have it set to not train, you can't really, or you shouldn't, lots of people do, but you don't want to be giving it a lot of like personalized info, especially for like developers or things that could compromise your systems. Or maybe you're a lawyer and need to review a bunch of documents, or a reporter where you have the files locally and then you need some way to query them faster. But right now it is a demo app. I'm not going to go into what retrieval augmented generation is. I'll try to explain that very quickly at the end as far as like how it's not going to remember things as well. But on an overall level, you can chat with your files. So it supports all these file formats, which is going to be TXT, PDF, like Word docs, JPEGs, PNGs, GIFs, and XML files, which if you use like Google Sheets is going to be like a CSV file. And you can convert it to XML. You can talk to RTX with automatic speech recognition, and that's pretty handy as well on all the models. Photo and image search, awesome too. And I do want to just kind of go in here and show you this real quick because it is helpful to see. So yeah, that's where they're picking the AI model in the top left. It's going to open in your Chrome browser, and obviously they're using it for, you know, nothing too crazy right now. But yeah, your private data stays on your PC. It's super nice. I have my desktop audio down, but so yeah, that's just real basic. And then this one is just kind of showing the new model support. Same thing, these videos are so quick that at least you don't have to go to Nvidia to watch them. Yeah, it's got new support for new models, so you can see that those are just the models that you can download within within ChatRTX. But let's see here. Yeah, it's got voice support for multiple languages, so that's going to be really helpful as well, especially if you're using the voice control type stuff, which I know is, we don't just make these videos for people in the United States, we make them for people everywhere. Can be super helpful depending on your language. Now this is going to show the photos. So it's searching for hiking in the mountains. So you can easily get your photos that you need and reference them if you wanted to like search like that. And basically keep it going. But that is what, like, if in a nutshell of like what it can do, that is you can chat with your files, talk to RTX. You can also use the regular models as well, and I will pull that up here in a second. Now I did want to say, here's the user guide. Go through the user guide when you're installing so you don't mess this up, because it can be messed up pretty easily. Once it's loaded, it's gonna use like, let's go right here. So yeah, like this, it's in Chrome still. So it loads in the browser with a corresponding terminal window, or like whatever you're using. Like I think I use PowerShell, but either way, they run side by side simultaneously. So you can install like more models here. I had already installed most of them except for the ChatGLM, this one right here, which if I wanted to, all I'd have to do is click download license and then download model, and it'll let you do it. Now the Mistral is the one that it just comes with inherently. You can choose your folder path right here on the right. Like, oh yeah, I want to, I'm going to put my notes, like I would have like a file folder path for all my Clavio development document notes, for instance, or things like that. Now, you can choose the AI model default. Yes, you can get like a ChatGPT on here, and that's a little more intense. You can use Lang Chain dash community and run that on your local system, and you can import OpenAI, things like that, so you can run the models as well, which is, I know, like everyone really, like even me, I prefer ChatGPT and OpenAI's models. I like how I'm just used to it. I like how it works. But right here, say we want to choose a folder path. Now it's going to it already samples the data set once you pick the data set. So this is like their sample data set that they have. And so this would be default data set, a sampling of articles recently published on GeForce News. So maybe it's like, this is going to be kind of like that ChatGPT out, just kind of like gives you the questions that you can ask. So like, I'm going to ask, when is the launch date of the Ratchet and Clank? Okay, so it's like, this is when Ratchet and Clank's coming out, and it's really good. That is what this is. So retrieval augmented generation, and without getting too deep into that, it's not great at like continually answering questions or anything like that, but if you have specific questions about what like about a thing, it is going to be very good at retrieving it quickly, and what you can do with that is up to you. Now, if we go back in here and then you want to like click that, you can click the text file. So like I just had this, it's a TXT file, which is fine. And boom, you can see this is the documents of like for all about Ratchet and Clank and then one of the articles in there. So I really do like the fact that you can like find things easier, and especially if you like wanted to go back and read what you had what you had on your local system for like those development docs. Totally easy to use. Put it all in a folder, tell it where the folder is, and you're good to go. Now, additionally, if you wanted to like remove them, you could click the settings up here, and you can see like I know Gemma is Google's model. This is Llama 2 is Meta's model. Clip is for the audio and video stuff when you're searching. And overall, I think it's great that you can create an environment where you don't need to be worried about what you're asking it or things like that. So let's just switch real quickly to a model like the AI model default, and maybe we go and it's switching right now. So yeah, if you do switch models, it might take a second to switch, and you search the web. So yeah, like you can still do a lot of those basic things like you're doing, and I could be like, when is the first NBA championship game? Okay. When is the first game for the NBA championship? In 2024. So yeah, like sometimes it can be like a little weird. Like this is like, because we're especially using an AI model default. And again, you can totally, it might just be determining upon the model, like the Gemma model right here. And like maybe if I switch to, let's try this. We'll switch to Llama. Can you help me with configuring a Klaviyo SPF record on Google Domains? And again, like I would way rather feed the data in and then have it find out that stuff. But like you're seeing right here, we switched the model, and it's not like, sometimes with how you prompt it, it gets a little wonky, but like this is at least going to be, it can still like check the web, do things like that. It's just a little more, you have to tailor it a little more to what you're looking for. Now, I'm not going to go further into like this part of it right now, because I think honestly the best way is to like play around and just like see what you like and how you could use this. And I think most of you will use this like how I was saying, where you probably could like find a bunch of like documents that have what you want, and instead of like where ChatGPT, if you were like going through like a sequence of developing tasks where it can like lose itself, ask it the one question you need, where you don't need it to like keep remembering based upon the last thing. And that happens like a lot, where that's where you can like run into issues, especially developing, when you're like 3 hours into a conversation with ChatGPT and then it's giving you the wrong answers even with the 4.0 model, because you've just gone through so many things. Like maybe you're setting up a server for your first time, or like a VM, and then you're setting up a server. It's just not going to be that helpful. Like it makes mistakes as you go along, and then when you're freaking 6 hours into creating a virtual machine and a server on the virtual machine, and you don't know what you're doing, then you're gonna have to go back and then restart over. And I think like 2 months ago, I just recently went through that, where I had set up virtual machines before, never had to really set up servers and receive files on servers for like inventory for one of the companies we work with. So we can have like an automated export, because they didn't even have an API or a public API I could access. So this is where, if you had all the info you needed and then had them stored as local files, then you're going to be able to reference those things much faster with the actual information that is correct. And not saying that ChatGPT is correct, can be correct a lot of the time. I'm not saying that at all. It is amazing. But what I am saying is that you might save maybe a little more upfront time finding the files that you want or like the documentation you need, but creating better results without you losing your mind about why something's not working that you've never tried to do before. So basically, based on that, I think these are kind of probably where I'm going to stop, other than when you're downloading this, there is apparently, they say you can do this with YouTube. There's like a YouTube, let's see here, boom boom boom. I haven't figured that out yet. I haven't really needed to, but it'll use the captions basically. So like if you had a really good YouTube video that was like giving you instructions, then you could chat with it about those specific instructions instead of like it just being open to everything it knows about the thing, like it would be in a regular LLM if you went to their website. Additionally, you can. That's the last thing I was going to say. You can use it, like if you're a developer, you can use it for developing and deploying your own RAG based applications and things like that. That's a little too nerdy for me. I'm just like trying to use this just like kind of more like a normal person and not like a full fledged developer. And again, like I'm a pseudo developer. Like I can do development things, but I am not like the guy that can tell you about anything and everything about OS, boot OS disks and like how then on within the boot OS disk, like if you use Linux, you might use Debian, you might use or Debian or Ubuntu, Red Hat. There's like lots of Linux distributions. So if you are like a full developer, you probably like think I sound ridiculous right now, but for most of you who don't do a lot of development, I would say there's a whole other world out there, and I'm not trying to like dive deep into how crazy that world can get. So overall, I hope you enjoyed this, and once I get to learn how to use this better, like maybe I'll make a public Klaviyo model that's like specifically for doing email records, things like that. But I just think like if you have an Nvidia graphics card and you're like even if you're a gamer, you have most of you have probably Nvidia graphics cards. But actually, that's a lie. You might have some AMDs for sure out there too. But yeah, I really like where Nvidia is going as a company, and there's like so many things for creators that Nvidia offers. It just kind of opens up a whole new world. Like even today when I was just looking at their, let me pull this over for you. They just have lots of different things right now. Where like I was watching, where was it? It was like AI powered speech recognition tools for Adobe Premiere Pro or different things. So like they just have a lot of cool things. This is like the very base level of what they have, but I like where they're going, and I plan on having a Nvidia graphics card for the rest of my life and in all of my machines. So have a wonderful day. Catch you next time, and peace.